Madslinky, Boii, Redigamer, Macedon. Round of 16. So I've been casting on YouTube for 2.5 years, and I had to laugh because this was the first time on my first take of recording this replay I have ever casted an entire match and then gone back to watch it and found out that my mic is muted the whole time. So that was a little embarrassing, really kind of frustrating actually. Good thing it wasn't like a 20-minute replay because I would have really been kicking myself. But I ended up having to, well, I'm recasting this match now. I already casted it once before. Looks like it's gonna be against Boii and Macedon, Madslinky on Boii and Redigamer on Macedon, and again we're gonna be seeing this meta build, the Barbarian Rush build from Madslinky. Now the difference with his build is that he's actually gone super cost effective. He's brought a front line of Celtic Warriors, which are very interesting unit, good flanking force, good meat shield, super cheap, and only 350 talents, and they'll beat Hastati and Gallic Warriors one-on-one in melee, and of course they'll shred a bunch of spear units in the game as well. So definitely, without a doubt, one of the best units in the game for their price. And then of course you get sword followers, which are a very cost-effective mid-tier sword unit, and some Oathsworn to back it up for heavy horse, and then some Celtic bowmen in the back, which we haven't seen from these Barbarian Rush builds too often so far. Looks like he's going to be doing some skirmishing. Over on Redigamer's side, he has 4 Thessalian cavalry, which match up okay versus heavy horse. I'm not actually sure who wins that engagement one-on-one in melee combat, a Thessalian or a heavy horse. I do think that shot cavalry in general is better for hammer and anviling on this patch. Of course, they've always been better for hammer and anviling, but melee in general, melee cav I don't think is particularly strong on this patch, but certainly heavy horse getting into the back line of these thorax swords of Royal Peltas could do some damage, and same can be said for the Thessalian cavalry. The problem is that Macedon's army is much smaller than the massive army. It's got to be close to 2,400 units for the Boii, and so he's going to have to simply take engagements where he can like quickly get the Celtic Warriors off the field. He actually did bring 5 archers, and it's going to be interesting to see if he tries to kite with this build or if he just tries to take an engagement head on. I think in a melee engagement that gets taken too early, again, I think that would be a really hard battle for Macedon to win this. We've seen these Barbarian Rush builds kind of just overpower the Macedonian and Hellenic builds a lot in this tournament so far, and I think that might happen here if he takes an engagement too early, but I don't want to speak too soon. Looks like the cavalry is on the flanks for both of these players, and it looks like a lot of the archers are going to be targeting the Celtic Warrior, even if they do manage to shred the Celtic Warrior, which is entirely possible given that they're pretty low armor. I think that's, I mean, it's only 350 talents, and this is kind of what he wants his units to do. Celtic Warriors should just kind of soak up the engagements, soak up the archer fire, and they're down to 96 men, but not a lot of damage, and then Royal Peltas out on the flank. Looks like they'll be engaging some Celtic Warriors and sword followers soon. Over on this side, looks like the Thessalian cavalry and heavy horse are going to engage, and I believe the same is going to happen over here. Interesting thing is I believe the Thessalians are going to get the charge on this flank, and the heavy horse are going to kind of get mismicro by Madslinky, and they're going to get a good charge off. And then the same thing is going to happen right here. The heavy horse is going to charge into the Thessalians, and so it's kind of an opposite effect. One cavalry gets a good charge, and then the other player gets a good charge. So they both had a bit of a mismicromanagement over on this side. The difference is the Celtic Warriors should be able to help turn this cavalry fight in their favor, and Redigamer is going to do a good job of pulling out. He realizes he can't take that engagement, quickly get them out of there. Thorax Swords shouldn't have any trouble beating Celtic Warriors in melee combat, but all across the line he's already engaged, and the archers haven't had a lot of time to fire. Celtic bowmen are getting shot up a little bit, and Celtic Warriors as well, but the pikemen are trying to engage here, and they're just kind of being the buggy mess that they are in general. Actually haven't gotten into melee combat at all yet, and it looks like he's going to start targeting some of the pikemen with his archer units, and they're low armor and have a bad shield value, so they're going to get shredded pretty quickly, and some of the archers in the back here getting shot as well. Looks like one of the heavy horses actually gotten out of the engagement. One of this heavy horse will rout, but the other has made it through, and this one has as well. Going to pull through the Thessalians and try to get into the archers. If he takes all these archers off the field, and they're not really supported by anything, the pikes shouldn't be able to do too much to protect them here. Yet there's a heavy horse coming in from behind, as the main line isn't going too well for Macedon at the moment. Looks like the heavy horse are going to get into the back of the archers. That unit, a cheap unit, is going to rout very quickly. And this is where heavy horse really shine. They're just getting into archer units and doing some hammer and anvils. They should be able to do a lot of damage here and clean up the archer units, which I think Redigamer needs to win this battle. The mainline engagement Thorax swords generally don't beat sword followers, and we can see right here that they're not. This is a hard engagement for them. They're simply not as good as the sword followers. He's done a good job of putting them in shield wall, which is, I think, is the right move so they can hold out a little bit longer. But the problem is the Thessalians aren't really on the field anymore, and the entire left flank for Macedon has kind of crumbled, and Royal Peltas completely surrounded by a full-strength Oathsworn unit. It's a really big deal, and that's his general, actually, who might die pretty soon here. And if that happens, I think he's going to have a really, really hard time winning this battle. Pikemen in the center just got shredded by the archer units, who are now up to 118 kills, 17 kills, and 37 kills. So he's done a good job microing them so far. And on Macedon's side, the archer units really didn't make a large impact so far. Thorax sword surrounded by the Celtic warriors. He did a very good job flanking with one of this Royal Peltas unit. Redigamer did a great job charging into the back of this sword follower unit. The problem was there was another Celtic warrior that was there to overlap the flanking Royal Peltas, and he kind of surrounded the Royal Peltas as well. And he's going to actually win this engagement over here, but there's so much more coming in now. A bunch of archer units, some more Celtic warriors and sword followers, and a Thorax swordsman over on this side. Oathsworn are only down to 105 men, so they've actually got plenty of men left in the unit. And Thorax swords just aren't going to win this fight against all these sword followers and Oathsworn. And a balance bar shifted precipitously in Boii's favor, and it looks like the Sword Rush Barbarian meta is going to continue winning the day here. Now, I did make these two players replay. They actually played on a map that wasn't in the pool, and so I made them replay their match. And I actually made them bring the same builds. I think that this build was pretty hard for Redigamer to win with, and I think after he played the first game and I made them replay, he realized that. And I just didn't want them to change their builds because I felt like that might be a little bit unfair. Like if you decide to go with Macedon and bring this build, I think, and I force you to replay, I think you're gonna have to bring the same build there. I think I was fair in that kind of a decision. But yeah, in general, I don't think that this build is horrible at all. In fact, I like, even though I don't like pikes on this patch, I think with the 5 archers, they can actually be quite good. The problem with everything that he did here, I think, is that, again, there wasn't a lot of kiting, and the archer units aren't great in a skirmish fight. These really cheap archer units probably can't even beat. I'd be surprised if 5 archers could beat 3 Celtic bowmen. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but certainly they would lose a lot of men before taking out these Celtic bowmen, and then he wouldn't have a lot of opportunity to kite the rest of this rush build, which is huge. I mean, yeah, 2,000 men deployed, so I was a little bit off with that. But a very big army, a lot of Celtic warriors, super cost-effective, and kind of a good meat shield to soak up some arrow fire and soak up the charge bonuses of the Thorax swords. I'm not actually sure if Redigamer decided to charge his Thorax swords in or just put them in shield wall right away. I've never actually tested that out, whether it's better with Thorax swords to just take the charge of a barbarian sword, but just plop them in shield wall beforehand. They have a charge bonus themselves, so my guess would be you want to charge them in and then put them in shield wall, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not really sure. If someone does know the answer, they can let me know. Really good usage of the heavy horse, or at least some of the heavy horse. The funny thing was on both flanks, actually, Madslinky, he got the charge with one of his heavy horse, and then the other one he mismicroed. And the same thing happened with Redigamer. Redigamer got the charge with one of his Thessalians on one side, and then on the other side, and then the other cavalry didn't get their charge. So they both actually got 2 charges, and both kind of failed on microing the other 2 cavalry units they had. So that was kind of funny. But in general, Thessalians, I think, match up okay versus heavy horse, but I think that Madslinky did a little bit of a better job backing up the cavalry engagements. He sent some Celtic warriors in to help turn the cav fight in his favor. And I think that Redigamer realized that once that happened, he had to pull his cavalry out, did his best to get around behind the enemy, but just wasn't able to do it with his cavalry. And pikes, that's 3 pike units. That's a lot of talents right there. Not a lot, but it's over 1,000 talents, and they ended up getting 9 kills between 3 units, which is not ideal, and his general unit only got 50 as well. So just in general, I think this build is pretty hard to deal with, at least with the build that Macedon brought. And I'm actually going to be uploading a video relatively soon about what you guys think of this tournament so far. I'm not going to ask all the questions I want to. I'll save that for the next video. But I definitely do want to know what your guys' opinions are on this tournament so far and how things have been progressing. Well played from Madslinky. I don't think Redigamer played poorly there, but I just think his build was not optimal to deal with the Barbarian Rush. And you know what, to be honest, this wasn't the craziest sword rush I've ever seen, because he actually did bring some skirmish units and some cavalry as well, which is nice to see a little bit of a twist on the barbarian meta. But anyway, good game to both players. Madslinky will advance into the round of 8, and Redigamer will unfortunately be sent out of the tournament. But well played to both players. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all later. Indie Pride signing out. Peace.